Thank you. Good afternoon. So thank you for joining us this afternoon. We're so happy that you're able to participate in the webinar conference this morning for legalities on small business development. We want to especially thank our sponsors. Our sponsors who are First Securities Bank and the Arnall Foundation as our presenting sponsors. We certainly want to thank all those who reached out and have offered support to our OKC MED Week Minority Enterprise Development celebration. We have a panel this morning and we'll be discussing the legalities surrounding small business development. And we've got an excellent panel of presenters today. So this afternoon, we have with us now Mr. Ken Talley, who is Minority and Small Business Development Director for the State of Oklahoma Department of Commerce. We have Qhuarium QK Douglas, attorney specializing in small business compliance and business consultant. And we have Jerrel Mure, who is a financial advisor for Mass Mutual and a small business consultant. So again, we thank you for joining us, and please, just a bit of housekeeping. You can ask questions through the chat, and we will provide as well for our listening audience contact information for the panelists as we move through, and certainly prior to ending the webinar this morning. So again, we thank you, and we look forward to jumping right into a vibrant discussion. So I'd like for each of our panelists this morning to take a moment and further talk a little bit about your experience in small business development, sort of a bit of an intro in what prompted your interest in this field and your preparation for our presentation today. QK, you want to go first?
Absolutely. So good afternoon, everyone. My name is QK, Qhuarium Douglas. I, like Ms. Melva has said, am a business compliance attorney here in Oklahoma City. I do want to thank each of you for being here with us today and taking in this useful and much needed information. I started my business to actually help small business owners, entrepreneurs, and creatives get the legal foundation and the solid foundation that they need actually to run a sustainable business. The knowledge transfer, unfortunately, just was not there in the communities that I grew up in. I have been a regulatory compliance attorney for over 5 years now. I started off in litigation and moved from there to consulting, to family law, to in-house for nonprofits. So I have seen compliance from a lot of different aspects. At this time, what I do is help entrepreneurs make sure that their registration is solid, make sure that their documentation is correct, and also help and consult on brand protection, making sure that they own their brand identities, which is hugely important. And I will talk more about that as well. I currently am licensed to practice in the state of Oklahoma and have been since 2017. I've been running my business, QKI Consulting LLC, since 2018 and have been consulting on brand protection and all things legal registration since that time. I've also done mortgage and banking. I was a banker and mortgager for about 3 years before going to law school. So I have the background in personal finance as well as loss mitigation in mortgage, along with the different areas of practice. And so the knowledge that I'll be sharing with you today comes from that background.
Excellent, thank you. Jerrel?
Yeah, thank you everybody for hopping on. Jerrel Mure, I'm a financial advisor here in Oklahoma City, but I'm licensed in about 10 different states. But a financial advisor here, as far as kind of how I got started, my background's in math, sciences, STEM, kind of took a pivot and went over into the business world, jumped into financial advising. When I first started doing financial advising, I actually didn't work with too many business owners initially. But because this is a form of entrepreneurship, I kind of started to build more of a passion for it. I kind of went through my own challenges building up my business, and I met more specifically minority business owners who are going through a lot of the same things, just in different industries. And so have picked that up quite a bit, worked with quite a few small business owners now, and financial advising covers a lot of different areas. It can be things as simple as, kind of basic budgeting and saving. It can go all the way up to doing, succession planning for business owners and estate planning and kind of everything in between. I would say the financial advisor is kind of the quarterback for your financial plan. You ask me a question that involves money and I figure out how to get you an answer. Some of those things I might do, some of it might be me connecting you with the proper resources so that you can get those things done. But I've been doing this for about 6 years now, and I love it.
Excellent. Thank you, Jerrel. Ken, and you're muted, so if you'd unmute there.
How about that?
Excellent. Can you give us a bit of background that brought you to this field of work?
Yes, I feel kind of fortunate. I actually worked with the first MBDA contract organization in Oklahoma. And that was after working about a year out of college. I was involved with a training program, a national training program for minority business and economic development, sponsored and held in Philadelphia. From that, we came back and became the contractor. We started an organization that became the contractor for the first MBDA contract program in Oklahoma. MBDA, Minority Business Development Agency under the U.S. Department of Commerce. And they're the basic emphasis for the Med Week celebration or activities. I worked later for a U.S. congressman for several years, and I did the liaison work for small business and economic development during that time. And then I worked for about a year and a half with rural development under the U.S. Department of Agriculture. There's rural development that works with businesses in the rural areas of the state. So when I started working with the Oklahoma Department of Commerce here, I consider that my second work life, which I really enjoy as liaison for small business and minority business.
Thank you so much, Ken. So all of you can see that we have a really robust panel here this afternoon, with great background and skills in the development of small businesses. So I'd like for us to jump right in with a few questions that we've talked about some to date. And I think starting right off with, why is it important for BIPOC or Black and Indigenous people of color businesses to become legal entities and understand standard business operation practices in this environment? Why is it important?
Well,
go ahead.
I would say first that you live in the U.S. and our economy is a capitalistic economy. To me, U.S. is the best place in the world to live. But we must understand that it is a capitalistic economy. And that means that you have to compete to get an economic foundation. So that is one reason I think that we as minorities have to understand the economic system, the small business systems, in order to provide for our families and to develop.
Awesome, thanks. Jerrel or Q? Same question. Why is it important for BIPOC organizations, businesses, to understand the legal aspects of becoming a business?
Yeah, I will say just with working with clients and also with potential business owners as well, of course, as Mr. Talley has stated, it is in your best interest as a entering into the capitalistic economy for your business to be registered. But the reason behind that, I would say, is because you have tax benefits that are available to you if you register for your business, which means that you should not really by any means be using your own money, commingling your personal funds with a business fund. You need to have that separation down and start to also separate it in your mind as well. When you start to enter into the stream of commerce, you need to make sure that you have a structure for your business. The same as when you create a business plan or a business proposal, that is the equivalent of you creating a structure, a business entity structure for the business that you are creating. And really what that means is that you are going to look and see, okay, I'm going to be a limited liability company, or I'm going to be a corporation, or I'm going to be a DBA, and just have a trade name while I figure out how to properly structure my business, or before I can consult with a professional on what is my best business structure. I tell a lot of my clients all the time, if you have been in business for over a year and you're still a sole proprietorship, there's some business planning that you just simply have not done. Running a business is in part a part of how you plan on the back end of your business. It's not just what you're selling, not just your product or your service that you are putting out for the public. It also is how do you run your business on the back end? And that is how you're going to be able to sustain over time. So a business entity is extremely important to how you're going to last in business, especially being in our communities as we don't have the knowledge transfer, don't have the knowledge available that we should. The resources are very much available, from organizations to private consultants and experts like myself. You need to make sure that you understand the differences between having a business entity and just creating a business in the beginning.
Excellent, thank you. Jerrel, your thoughts?
Yeah, I think when you, and I've had a chance to sit down with a lot of people who are kind of in those beginning stages of wanting to start a business. I think at the beginning, you really have to ask yourself, how serious do you want to take this? I know me and QK have talked about this several times, but just that idea of, there's a lot of people who kind of have side hustles and side gigs, and those are great if that's what you want to do. But for those people who are saying, I want this to be legitimate, I really want to open a business, there's a lot of structure, organization, and intentionality that has to come behind that. And so the whole point of sitting down and saying, okay, if I'm going to go from me just selling some product or service out of my house or selling it to my friends and I want to make this legitimate, I really want to work with somebody and figure out, how does this need to be structured and how is that helpful for me? You don't just need to go and get an LLC just to get an LLC, right? But there are benefits to it, and I need to know how that benefits me. I don't just need to go do things just to do them, but there are a lot of pieces of just getting set up properly that if we do that at the beginning and we do them correctly, it's going to help us out quite a bit in the future. We see a lot of businesses that have been going for 4, 5, 6, 7 years. And now they're trying to go back and do things they should have done year one. And then we're having to put a lot of band-aids on problems and fix a lot of issues. So if you're in those stages where you're wanting to be an entrepreneur, it's a great time to really say, okay, how do I structure this right now so that as I grow and as I expand, things run smoothly.
Absolutely. And if I could just add a piggyback to that as well,
Please
which
do.
if you do the structural foundational work in the beginning, like Jerrel is saying, and move with intention, a lot of the professionals that you think are so expensive, like an accountant, a financial planner, a lawyer, a consultant, actually it ends up being a cost-effective service to your business, which we can talk about more as well. But it ends up being way more affordable than you might think. It's when, to his point, that we have to go backwards and put on the Band-Aids to a business that has been established or standing for a while, that takes time for us to go back and fix those issues that really should have been done in the beginning, which is where you start to see the bigger bills or the bigger expense coming in because it wasn't done in the proper time frame. And so really being realistic about when you start a business, what type of budget are you looking to put forward to do that, and really investing in yourself and in your business. And what does that mean truly? So to his point, moving with some type of intentionality, not just doing something because that's what you saw on the internet or that's what all of your friends are doing, really to make sure you understand why you're doing what you're doing beforehand, because it does cost you money.
Awesome, thank you. And thank you for making it very plain what this process may look like. So let's talk a little bit deeper about what some of those steps are, and provide for our listening audience a bit more depth in that, along that vein. So can you begin to share with us from the perspective of legal preparation, financial preparation, and just resources that are available to help folks to get there? Can you give some insight?
I might start with that. A lot of times when we're talking to persons about starting a small business, we try to tell them to look at it in the different sections, and to actually be working on those sections simultaneously. But as far as the name and entity structure, a lot of times, rather than just filing an LLC or corporation or whatever at the very beginning, you probably just want to think about your name and maybe just hold it as a DBA, or as a trade name or DBA. Or if you know you're getting ready to go into business right away within the next 60 days, but you need to check on some things like who are going to a significant partner and that type of thing, you can just hold a name for 60 days with the Secretary of State for $10. But also, if it's going to take you over a year, and sometimes to get started over 6 months, you may just go ahead and file that name as a trade name, and then it's held there forever until you decide to use it in an LLC or corporation. But the name issue and the entity structure is something that should be looked at more, should be looked at in a more systematic way. The other thing is that there may be licensing or operating licenses or permits that you must have. A number of businesses, there aren't any. It's just simply that there's not been a law passed in Oklahoma to say you need any type of license or permit. But on the other hand, on others there are. The third area that we tell people that is so very important before you actually move forward is to look at your financial factors and to try to do projections, annual operating projections, which means looking at the amount of revenue you might be able to generate, that you hope to generate, and also looking at those direct costs involved with generating those revenues, particularly those people who make items to sell. You know, they have materials and they have their direct time costs in making the items to sell, and then after that they have their regular operating expenses. So we make people aware of that, and we point out that projected statements are like profit and loss or income statements, where you show the revenue at the top, underneath that the direct costs that might be involved, and then underneath that deducting and identifying the different operating expenses to come down to what you think that net return or results going to be. And then to look at that and see, is that giving you the return you wanted or hope to get? Or can you get there within a 2 or 3 year period? So that's why you probably need to project not only the first year, but think in terms of the second and third years. So we tell people to think of it in different segments. And once they look at the projections, they may determine then that it's going to take me over 6 months to get where I need to be, or it's going to take me maybe a year. So maybe I just need to file a trade name with the Secretary of State and not go ahead and do an LLC right now. Or maybe I need to do that and read more about what entity structure as an LLC, how it differs from being a corporation or a limited partnership, and what are those terms. So planning, it involves planning, and then you can decide exactly when you're ready to start and kick off that business.
That's good. Q, can you give us a little more insight on what some of those business entities, the more common business entities are? What's the difference? LLC, S Corp, what's the difference?
Absolutely. And to Mr. Talley's point, the business planning is of utmost importance, and you need, it's not something that is optional. It's something that needs to be done in order. Again, when you're thinking about starting a side hustle and going through that process, or a business that's going to kind of be something you do just to supplement your income, understanding the difference, but moving into a business owner, moving into ownership mode, not just consumer mode all the time. So when you decide to become a supplier and enter into the stream of commerce, a business plan is not optional. That's something that you have to do, which is going to come with market research, looking around to see how am I going to plan and move forward into this business, and what is that going to take from me, both in the business side and from your own investment, if that's the route you're going to take, or if you're looking to get capital funding from another source, which is an option that I think a lot of people in our community do not think that they have or don't take. And it does take financial planning on both sides. And when I say both sides, I mean your personal finances as well as your business finances, because again, those two things are separate, but they are just as important. So when you're looking to see how you're going to actually move forward in the business, that financial planning piece is very important for you to understand before you start moving forward in business, buying materials, doing these type of things, because technically a part of your planning is going to be a part of maybe purchasing some materials or purchasing a service from Jerrel or myself, to actually see, how does this picture work for me? What does my business plan look like? Does an LLC work for the type of business that I'm looking to do? Going into a product-based business versus a service-based business, you're not going to approach it the same way. No matter if you're new in business or if you have businesses before, you have to understand the differences contract-wise and legal-wise. So I wanted to definitely make that point, and not to say that as I go into talking about the differences between an LLC, a DBA, and a corporation and a partnership, that piece beforehand is not done. So just to add that there. But also thinking about the differences here. So one, a business entity versus a tax election. So a business entity, and this is something that I see a lot on social media, and I'm just going to be real with you as attendees. You cannot change your business entity, which is going to be a limited liability company, which is what an LLC stands for, a corporation or a partnership, into a S Corp, C Corp, or otherwise. Those are tax elections, which means that your business entity is not going to change. You will have an LLC that will either be taxed as an LLC, which is passed through, or it will be taxed as an S Corp, or it will be taxed as a C Corp. That's an election that you file with the IRS. So the main way that you can know the difference is state registration. State laws govern business entities, meaning you have to go to the Secretary of State to file a business entity election or a trade name election to be a sole proprietor, or to be a LLC, or to be a limited liability partnership. Okay. The IRS is not concerned too much about what your business entity is. They want to know how to tax you. So what they are looking at is, did you elect to be taxed as an LLC? I will tell you, if you don't make any elections, you're probably going to be taxed either personally through your sole proprietorship, or you're going to be taxed even through pass-through with an LLC. Really, once you start making revenue, again, this is the point where you've had your business plan, your projections, and you're making revenue of about $35,000, which is my personal, when I talk to people, there's differences that you talk to different professionals. Jerrel might have a difference in that or something else. There's a threshold that you need to make in revenue before you should be taxed as an S Corp or taxed as a C Corp, because there's different business compliance that goes along with that. You have to have W-2 information. There's elections that you have to file with the IRS. So that is the documentation, and that is federal. The IRS is always going to be federal. Business entities are always going to be state, so that you know the difference as a business owner as to what you're talking about and what entities you're going to use for your business structure. Okay, so that's a little bit more in the weeds. But when you're looking at a limited liability company from a sole proprietorship, and I'm also, again, just being real with you, a sole proprietorship, just doing a DBA is not protecting you whatsoever at all. So as soon as you have your first customer and you are still a sole proprietorship, should anything happen between you and that customer, your personal finances are at risk. Your personal name is at risk. Your personal credit is at risk. You do not have any protections, which is why it is encouraged for you to file a business entity like an LLC before you start engaging in commercial business, because once you file that LLC, you now have a protection. You now have an entity in front of you. If anything is to happen, it's going to touch the business and the funds of the limited liability company first before it touches you or your personal business. This is why multiple business owners are able to, in a sense, drop an LLC, close it if it doesn't work out, and open another one the next day, because their credit and their own, to a certain extent, their credit, but mostly their funds are not affected, just the business funds, right? And so knowing the difference between what a limited liability company, what a limited partnership, and what a general partnership can do for you. A general partnership gives you no protections either. So if you go into business with someone and you hold someone out to be a business partner with you, that's really all you need to be in business, to have a partnership. Now, when you want a limited liability partnership, you are stating that you have created an entity that you and this partner are going to stand behind and do business together, whether that partner that you've chosen is going to be exclusively in that business or not. So these are the things you have to understand when it comes to the different entities. A corporation, more so for more revenue that's going to be made, and also if you have more people involved in your business. Because when you do a corporation, you have to have what's called a board of directors or shareholders that are also going to be a part of your business. And this is not an option, it is mandatory. You have to have bylaws. You have to have certain documentation like articles of incorporation to go along with your corporation in order for you to get proper funding. An LLC requires you to have an operating agreement in order for you to get proper funding. To file an LLC in the state of Oklahoma does not require you to have an operating agreement. So you can very much have an LLC and try to go get funding and get denied because you don't have all your proper documents. So these are the types of nuances and things that you have to understand when you're looking at business entities and the differences and how to structure it based off of the type of business that you are creating. It is not a one size fits all type of situation.
Awesome. Jerrel, your thoughts?
Yeah, a couple of things, because you asked about utilization of resources, and I think they went pretty in depth on a lot of topics surrounding kind of tax and entity structure. When I have initial meetings with potential clients, that first meeting when they walk away, I don't expect them to remember 90% of the things that we talked about. That's not really the point of the meeting for me. The point of it is to expose gaps. I want to sit down with somebody and I want to say, this is what good financial planning looks like. And honestly, you throw a whole lot of things at them. You need to be thinking about this. You need to be thinking about this. You need to be doing this. We are trying to make sure that you are saying there are things that I don't know. And the reason that's important is not just because we want you to use us and so we can get paid. The reason is because, especially in today's time, with technology and kind of the boom of social media, we have a very DIY, do-it-yourself culture. A lot of, I'll figure it out on YouTube, on TikTok, people are Googling stuff and they're doing all of their planning, how they're going to conduct their personal financial lives, their business lives based off of everything that they're seeing online and tips that they saw on social media. And so really important for you to understand where your gaps are, the things that you don't know, so that you can actually utilize your resources. When it comes to utilizing your resources and being a business owner, I know it's difficult because everybody's kind of in survival mode, especially at the beginning of a business. You're trying to make money and you don't want to spend anything additional if you don't have to. But utilizing your resources, the people around you that understand all the things that you do not understand, is going to save you a lot of time and money if you think out long term. So thinking about, okay, I can try and figure this out myself. I mean, business owners who are trying to do their own bookkeeping and file their own taxes, and they don't really understand taxes. I can save that money and I can file my own taxes, or I can just talk to an accountant, right? I can spend that $200,000, $500,000, however much it costs, and I can get it done right. And then it's going to be so much better and so much more fruitful for me financially as I move forward, right? I'll see people that are trying to create their own documents online instead of using an attorney, right? People tell me they're doing their own financial planning. And when I sit down and I go through what they've done, it's limited, right? And so the point is to use those resources, use the people around you. All of these services don't cost a lot of money. There are a lot of free resources available. And you should have, for those of you who have been participating in the week this week, you should have seen that. But there are a ton of resources, and we really wanted to make sure that you are actually speaking to people who know this information and you're not trying to do it yourself. Entrepreneurship is already lonely, right? A lot of people feel like they're going through struggles all by themselves. They feel like they're having to figure things out, and you can feel kind of isolated. So it's good to be around other entrepreneurs. It's good to be around people who work with entrepreneurs, because it gives you a lot of kind of hope and faith and a lot of ideas on how you can structure things. And also kind of understanding, another reason why it's good to tap into your resources, that there's a lot of kind of general business planning concepts that everybody needs to abide by, but everybody's plan is going to look different. And you want to work with people who understand you have to customize things based off of you. If I'm a realtor, if I'm opening a restaurant, there's some business concepts overlap, but we also have a whole lot of differences. And so something that I saw online about this is how I'm supposed to structure my business might not work the same for this person and this person. So really important to say, let me talk to somebody who knows the differences and who can speak to me specifically in what I'm trying to get accomplished, so you can make sure that moving forward, it looks the way that you want it to look.
I might want to add to that, if I may. Here at Commerce, we're usually initial point of contact, meaning that with our website and being a state agency, people probably contact us first in a lot of instances. So mainly we are talking with them and trying to determine where they are at this point and where it's best for them to seek out more information and to connect with different organizations and professionals. So I refer a lot of persons to the Oklahoma Small Business Development Center as a resource to actually start with the plan. And we give them some initial direction here, but we refer a lot of folks to the Oklahoma Small Business Development Center programs. We also refer them to the Women's Business Center. And then there's the Service Corps Retired Executives. They have chapters, volunteer chapters, but there's only usually about 2 big ones. They're in the Tulsa and Oklahoma City area. If a business is in another part of their development, say 2 or 3 years, and particularly 2, and they may be doing something special like trying to do federal contracting or government contracting, or they may be trying to just do contracting with large corporations. I will refer them to organizations like the Oklahoma Procurement Technical Assistance Center to get more in line with doing government contracting. They're more particularly involved with federal, but they also are involved with local contracting. That's the cities, and they're also involved with the requirements to get involved with state contracting, which is the arena that my agency is in. They will make them aware that to get more information and get better suited for state contracting. That's done mainly through the Office of Management and Enterprise Services. And you normally would want to get registered to be identified as a vendor or supplier.
Thank you.
So those are resources that we try to connect people with from Commerce. Then we also emphasize, though, to seek out professionals like TK and also like Jerrel, to seek out those professionals. A lot of times between family and friends, you can identify professionals like the two ones on with me here on this Zoom meeting.
Awesome, thank you. As I'm sure from our listening audience, you can see that there is a great deal of information that needs to be accumulated when you're thinking about opening a business or you're operating a business. And so one of the thoughts that comes to me is, and you all three of you have given some great first steps, but if one is to think, okay, I've got these gaps in my knowledge base of what to do, how do I start? Can you give an example or give a suggestion for what that first step might look like? We know that we've given them the insight for doing some of the research, even online, checking with our state agencies for regulatory requirements and licensures, even structure definitions. But what would you suggest would be the best first step for someone to start their business or to take a step toward more appropriately identifying their business?
So a lot of times you don't, part of the issue is you don't know what it is you're looking for all the time. Like you might know that you have some type of gap, but you don't know who the person is or what the profession is that answers that specific question. And so for those people, I think to Ken's point, there's a lot of kind of large state organizations that are kind of easy go-tos. I'm a big fan of people being pretty thirsty for knowledge. You just don't want to stay in that bubble where you're trying to figure it out all online by yourself, but going out and looking for resources. Say you go to the Chamber of Commerce and you say, hey, I need this. I don't know exactly who answers that question or what it looks like, but this is what I need. And then maybe they can point you in a different direction. And then you can kind of start your search from there. And as you continue to ask questions and learn more information, it should connect you to additional resources that you need. Even with my own business, I kind of spent a lot of time trying to figure things out at the beginning and kept asking questions, and I'll meet somebody different and they give me another piece of information that led me to the next person, that led me to the next person, and kind of ended up completing that gap that I felt like I was missing. So say just being curious, really hunting for that knowledge, but making sure you're going out and talking to people. Say it can be something a little more generic, like I'm just gonna go to the Chamber of Commerce and I'm gonna ask them questions, and then they can start connecting you. And also when it comes to working with these organizations or other professionals, I encourage you to interview people as well. I think I'm a great financial advisor. That doesn't mean that you think I'm great, right? So when you're working with, and that's any profession, it can be a realtor who's doing your house, it can be an accountant, it can be a business consultant. Talk to people, ask your questions, and make sure that they're going to be able to make sure their personality fits with yours, and then also make sure that they're going to be able to answer those questions that have kind of been burning for you. And if they aren't, then it's time to move around and see if you can get connected to another resource.
Great, thanks for our panelists there who are just incredibly knowledgeable about this process of developing a business. One of the things that we've seen throughout the course of our celebration of Med Week this week has been just what all three of our panelists have referred to, the large number of professionals who are Black and Brown, and as well as other ethnic groups in our city who have the expertise to offer to our small businesses. One of the things that I think is important for us as we celebrate Med Week is beginning to identify those resources. And Progress OKC has made some strides in doing so, as well as many other of the provider organizations in Oklahoma City who have made it their business to begin to identify some of those providers and make that information available to our small business founders. So for our listening audience, if you'll begin to explore the websites, both the okcmed.biz as well as progressokc.org, and we'll put the identifying information for our panelists up as well as we go through, put them in the chat, as well as we walk through our presentation this morning. For that business panelist who has been in existence now for, maybe 3 to 5 years, and they've generated revenues, as one of you suggested, at least of about $35,000 per year. What advice would you give to them for continuing to sustain their business, or even when they might be able to begin to think about making their business bigger, scaling their business, their reach? Give me your thoughts on that.
Absolutely. I did want to ask a question too. There's some questions in the Q&A. Do we have some time left over for that to get to that question?
We do still have some time.
Okay.
I'm not
Okay.
saying them.
It's just in the little portion down there. I just saw that somebody, Ms. Flores, had a question, so I just wanted to make sure we
Can
had
you see it?
to hers.
Would
Yes.
you like to respond to it?
Yes, absolutely. So she asked, her question is, does anyone have background or experience with law and data collection for new businesses? And I will say, one, it's really going to depend. I know that's a very lawyer question, but it's going to depend on, one, the type of business that you have and how you're collecting that data. So one thing with business owners as well is that e-commerce is really where you need to be as a business owner in this day and age. Even if you have a brick and mortar, you need to understand e-commerce and having a business online, because that is where the future of business is going in many ways, financially, with how you reach out to your customers, marketing, all of these things are going to be done online and through a lot of building your community is what it's called, whether that be a Facebook community or an Instagram. Really, you should own your platform, which is going to be a website. But there's many different ways of doing that, right? But when it comes to data collection specifically, that is a great question, because there is legislation that has recently been passed, depending upon what industry you're in, which means that you have to do a little bit more to ensure that, one, your customers are very aware that you are collecting that information and what you are collecting that information for. So say, for example, you're collecting it to send out something free, like a checklist, or send out a discount code or a coupon. If you plan on keeping that information and keeping it on an email list, you have to make sure that you give people the option to opt out, and understanding what that means. Also, you have storage compliance that you have to comply with as well. And it's something that you have to make sure, if you're going to be making a profit off of that information, which that is a huge, huge business that is growing, of data collection, because you can sell your email list. Say you decide to get into a different industry, or you decide to license out information, you have to understand what that means. And going more in depth on that without understanding more about the industry or business that you're in is a little bit, it'll probably be a little bit more irresponsible on my my side of that because I don't want to give you misinformation, and I also don't want to give you information that you may not be able to use. But looking through that, you want to make sure that you're connecting with a business consultant, connecting with other people that are already in your industry specifically, so you understand that, hey, this particular business, this is how I'm going to be collecting this information, and this is how I'm going to set up my website, or this is how I'm going to set up my email list, or this is how I'm going to set up this information to be used. So that's going to be the key thing there. And then making sure that you keep yourself up to date on your industry specifics. If you're a highly regulated industry, you understand that there's a different way that you have to store that information based off of if you're not, right? So these are the types of things to think about when you're starting your business and build that into your business plan. There's a couple of other questions in there, but I don't know if you would like me to go over those or just to answer the question that you had presented, or for all of us even to answer that question, if there's other resources or things that you all would like to add.
Hugh, I'd like you to go ahead and share those questions, and any of the panelists, yourself as well, might be able to respond to them.
Okay, no problem on that. And you're welcome, Ms. Flores. She also put thank you for the information. The next question that I see available is from a Miss Latoya Hayes, and she says, "What is the best accounting software to use and why?" I know for me personally, just for ease and user interface, QuickBooks is something that I suggest to my clients all the time. Honestly, though, pairing your QuickBooks with a CPA, pairing your QuickBooks with a financial professional is really going to be imperative. I don't endorse any of the other ones, mostly because I use QuickBooks myself. And I work with CPAs and financial planners and advisors that have also done the same. So I'll open that question up to Jerrel's probably a better person to also talk to about that as well.
Yeah, I didn't agree. QuickBooks is probably the most popular. There's a few reasons why. There's a lot of other different types of accounting software. It also depends on your purpose for the software. Like QuickBooks, you can kind of track your basic expenses, but there's a lot of functionalities on top of that you can't use. Some people need them, some people don't. Usually, if somebody's really interested in talking more in depth about accounting, I try and bring an accountant in because they're able to answer those questions more directly and more specifically. But typically, if you're just getting started and you're kind of trying to start doing some basic good bookkeeping, QuickBooks works just fine. But definitely want to pair that with working with an actual account, because when you're on your own business, when you're a W-2, filing taxes is a little more straightforward. But when you have your own business, there's all these different rules and deductions and things that you can do. And so definitely want to connect with an accountant and make sure you're taking advantage of those things.
Great. Thank you, Jerrel. I can now see one of the questions out there as well. What would be some great resources I, as a beginner, can look through in now and in the future? And what kind of attorney should I look for in terms of background experience?
Yeah, I would say to that question, Mr. Talley and Jerrel, myself, we are all great resources that you can use, but organization-wise, like Mr. Talley was saying, the Small Business Development Center, looking through the websites that are going to be industry specific to you as well. So say, for example, you are looking to open a nonprofit. There is a nonprofit organization that is based with the state, but they also have their own organizations and meetings that they do. Same thing for a lot of industries, going to these meetups, meeting with other people that are also in your industry. I know a lot of times people say that that's, kind of canoodling with the competition, or however you want to phrase that. But at the same time, you are likely going through the same issues or similar issues as people in your industry, and getting that information from your colleagues and building those strong business relationships is invaluable and of the utmost importance. And that is an underutilized resource that I think doesn't get talked about a lot, because one, it's very free, but two, it also requires some some research and some digging, and honestly to do some true networking, which I really think that's where networking becomes of value, to speak and know the other people that are providing services, because there is enough for you to work with another person that is doing something similar to you, or creating what's called strategic partnerships with people who may not be doing something similar to yourself, but in a way that how I've met up with Jerrel and talked about certain things, sometimes we're able to refer people to each other based off of where they are in their walk and in their journey and what they need. Because also as a service or as a business owner, you're not going to be able to provide everything. So becoming a connector, becoming someone of value to your customer base is also invaluable. And that may mean that maybe somebody doesn't end up using your resources at that time, but they will think about you later. And so that's creating a great network and something of use. So I would say as a beginner, definitely look through any type of business meetups, business organizations, reading certain books. I know for me, I recommend the E-Myth Revisited to any business owner that is even thinking about touching a business, so that you understand really what are the ins and outs of what you're getting into. It is an old book, but it is a good book to use. Books like Good to Great by Jim Collins. These are books that are able to help you understand business and get into that switching of mindset. And then I will also open that up to the other panelists. But as far as what kind of lawyer you should look for in terms of background experience, you honestly need a business attorney, right? I don't ever recommend that someone looking into business starts talking to their family law attorney or starts talking to their criminal law attorney, or even starts talking to, their estate planning or real estate attorney. You really don't do that in any other industry. And again, I think it's because in our community, we don't utilize sometimes the resources from some technical experts and professionals, because we're looking at the price, or we're looking at, well, maybe that's not something that's historically been beneficial for me. And I think when you're looking for the same way that you would look for someone that's as close to your industry as possible is the same way that you do with an attorney. Now, I will say in Oklahoma, there's not a lot of business attorneys that are just doing that outright. There's not a lot of compliance attorneys that are just doing it outright. And it's mostly because the same reason as to why I got in here. A lot of people don't know what they don't know. They don't know what to ask. They sometimes use their friends and families, or try to use resources that are going to be the most affordable. I tell people, you can't look for the most affordable. If you are starting a business, you are investing in yourself and you are investing in your business, and you have to switch your mindset. There's no such thing as starting a business for free. And so my thought process on that is you either spend the money now or you will spend it later. But if you plan on being in business, you will be spending money and putting some investment in. So looking for a professional who actually is an expert in the area that you are looking in is always going to serve you best.
Excellent, thank you.
I had something quick to add to the starting as a beginner. Think about the business that you're trying to run and find somebody who's done it already. I think that's something that we don't utilize a lot because we're always in constant competition. We're trying to be in constant competition with each other. I've learned a lot about being a financial advisor from other financial advisors, both what to do and what not to do. And that's talking to people who have already been through some of the things that I was going to go through in the future. And so if you want to start a restaurant, talk to somebody who owns a restaurant, right? Instead of just trying to figure it out yourself. If you want to, to sell apparel, talk to somebody who's done it already. But that's it's kind of low hanging fruit and the easy go-to for, I'm just starting. I don't know exactly what to do, where to go, how to figure this out. Talk to somebody who has already done something in that area, and it's going to be a lot easier for you to at least get the ball rolling.
Those are great responses. We've got, Kim, before you make your comment, we've got about 5 minutes left. I want to be sure that we get the contact information for all three of you out there. So if you can post that in the chat real quickly. We do want to ask if there are any other questions. You might post that in the Q&A or the chat, and we'll try and get to them. Ken, quickly, if you've got a comment you'd like to add there.
No, I think they both fellow panelists made great comments. The main thing I would say is, though, that you do have to plan in financially. If you're going into business, it may take for you to get the amount of money, but to even get started, it may take over a year or 2 years, depending upon what you're going into. And at this point, there is not financing that's just going to come to you when you're starting. Usually the financial institutions going to wait to see it, that you get to that 2 or 3 year period before they're going to be that interested. So financial planning and saving and those kind of things are very important. And usually thinking in terms of 1 to 2 years to 5 years to where you want to be.
Thank you. Q, there was a question about the books that you recommended. If you could restate those titles.
Absolutely, yeah. The books I stated were The E-Myth Revisited. It's like I said, it's a much older book, but it's really, really good. And there's the E-Myth and then the E-Myth Revisited. So I'm depending upon how much you like to read and the difficulty getting through Revisited is a bit better. And then Good to Great was another one by Jim Collins. And that also, he has a couple others, Built to Last. That's a great book as well. But just looking at business resources, the Small Business Bible is another one by Stephen Strauss. There's quite a few, but looking into business development, looking into business books, there's a lot of information. When people ask me, well, I think you're kind of expensive, or I'm not quite ready for business professionals just yet, I always direct them towards books, always direct them towards maybe podcasts or things that can be used, whatever your medium of consumption is. If you like watching videos, getting on YouTube and looking up people that you respect or can relate to that is in your industry. These are great resources for you to use that are free resources that you can kind of use on your own time. I know sometimes getting to an organization can be really difficult. So using resources that you can kind of listen to so that you can, when you go to a professional, when you go to these organizational meetups and things like this, you have some working knowledge to start with, and that's always a good place to be.
Excellent. So in our 2 remaining minutes, and we just want to really thank this panel for outstanding information shared and the clarity with which you shared it. I can see Jerrel's post there for his contact for our listening audience, and as well now QK. Let's see, I don't have Ken, but I know through Oklahoma State Department of Commerce, he can be reached there. And what we'll do is, because I think we're having a little bit of a technical problem, I'm not sure if everyone is able to see this chat, but we'll post on the MedWeek page, OKCMedWeek.biz. We should be able to post the contact information for all of our panelists in all of our sessions throughout the course of our midweek. So you'll find these presenters and panelists there. It's Ken Talley, Qhuarium, QK Douglas, and Jerrel Mure. So again, we thank you for your participation today. Any burning thoughts from our panelists? We've got about 1 minute.
I would just say to anybody that's doing this business thing or thinking about getting into it, I know we spewed a lot of information today, which is also useful, but to Jerrel's point that he made earlier, really identifying gaps and understanding that you do need help, or if you need help, or what part of the journey that you are in is of the utmost importance. And also understanding you have a community of people and resources here to help you. You don't have to do it alone. You don't have to struggle through it. That is not the point of you building the business in the first place, is to give value, to give service, and we really want to help you do that. So please utilize the resources and things that we've talked about today, but whether it's using a professional or going to an organization, please understand that we have things out here to help you, and we want to help you through your journey and where you're at.
Awesome closing cue. Thank you so much, panelists. Thank you, audience. We look forward to hearing from you all again as we all move forward in this journey of further developing our BIPOC small businesses in the Oklahoma City area. Have a great afternoon. 2 o'clock, there will be a final presentation on the cannabis industry compliance. Special guest, Q Douglas. Thanks. Have a great afternoon. Bye.
Yeah.